Here's the short version. That's the short version. Here's the long version. So you're just riding along, and you got a flat tire. You were just riding along when it happened. Luckily, you're the kind of person who stays prepared for things like this, and you carry a set of tire levers and an inner tube, and a pump with you. If that's the case, here's how you use them properly. In the case of a lot of tires, ones like this, it's actually such a loose bead that you can lift it straight off the tire on its own. You don't need the tire levers. But a lot of higher pressure tires or skinnier tires, like on hybrids or road bikes, are going to be so tight that you need a set of these. They usually come in a set of 2. If it's a really tight bead, you might not be able to slice the tire off like that with just one. If the tire has a really tight bead, what you might have to do is take one, starting away from the valve, lift it over, and take that little hook that's on the back of it, and loop it around the spoke. That way this one tire lever can stay in place so you can finish the job with the second one. Just lift the bead up and over away from you, push down, tire should slide right off. Once you have the tire off, an old tube, unless you're using patches, chances are that's going to be garbage, but don't throw it away on the trails. Wrap it around your handlebars and dispose of it properly later. But for now, before you remount your tire, you want to check inside, make sure there's nothing still stuck in there. Because whatever's stuck through the tire to cause the flap might still be in there. It's going to cause a flap with the new tube. Be very careful you don't cut your hands wide open doing this. Find the way it rotates. If you look here, see how the tread has kind of an arrow formation pointing in this direction? That means when you mount the tire, it's going to be rotating this way, as though you're rolling forwards like that with the arrow. In the case of this wheel, there's no disc brake, so it doesn't really matter which way the tire goes on. If you are working on a wheel with a disc brake, you got to make sure that that disc brake is on the left, and you have the tire rolling forwards just to keep everything in the right direction. First thing to do, check the rim strip is still intact, because that protects your inner tube from your spokes, and locate the valve hole. That's where you want to start. If your tire has a logo, which this one doesn't, but if there's like a colored patch somewhere on it, it makes it real easy to help locate exactly where in the tire the flat is later if you line that up with your valve hole. That way you can kind of keep everything in orientation. But in this case it doesn't matter, so we're just going to mount up that back bead back there. We'll put it on, put the tire on our lap, and push the back bead on with our thumbs if possible. And if we can't, we just use the tire lever to pry it on there. That valve hole is still right up top. So, I'm going to take the new inner tube, peel the tire back towards me a bit, and push that new tube down through the valve hole. Next, you want to carefully pull the tire up and over the tube, and so it starts to encase it. Put the tire on your lap and spin it around as you put the tube in the tire. Then you take the bead on this side, you push it in under the valve, and you use your thumbs to push it all the way around. And with that last little bit, again, ideally you want to use your hands and just kind of push it nicely over like that till it pops. Alright, now representing you is Brianna.
Okay.
This is the first time she's changed a tire, and I'm hoping that I did a decent enough job explaining it that she's going to be able to do it.
So I know I have to get this off the thing. Oh, okay. I'm doing something. This comes off. Okay. And this has to come off somehow. I just have to turn it over. To the other side.
You can if you want.
Oh, there we go. Yay! Comes out. So I need to find that valve hole again because I totally did this wrong. This goes inside. I think I'm making up my own method here.
It's working for you.
So far. Okay, and then this has to go back inside.
Yep.
Right?
Pinch it all together at the end.
That.
There, that's the one. Looks like everything's on.
Am I done?
You are done. Everything's on. Yeah, literally, first try, pretty straightforward. I bet next time you do that, you'll have it down in like a minute.
Oh, God.
I mean, hopefully you never have to. Ideally, we'll never get flats, but if it happens.
Invincible. Be prepared.
So now we get on to part 2, which is the easy part. Gotta pump up the tire. There are only a couple things that can go wrong, so I'm gonna show them to you here, but this is the quick and easy bit. First of all, gotta hook up your pump. This valve is called a Schrader valve. This is the same valve that cars have. It's really easy. Most pumps are compatible with this, or almost all of them. This, you just hook up your pump and you go. If you have the Presta valve, which is the skinny, inconvenient valve, it's also pretty easy. If your pump isn't specifically designed for it, you need just a little adapter that any bike shop will have. They're like $1 or $2. The way to use them, just open up the valve, just twist a little bit counterclockwise a little, put the adapter on the pump on, pump as normal, then when you take the adapter off, screw it back closed so the air doesn't leak out. Lock it into place, and start slowly pumping to make sure that the tire doesn't bulge. If the bead starts to pop its way off here, just stop pumping, let some air out, push this back in until it pops into place, and keep pumping. So this whole time we've been working with the front wheel. In the case of this one, it's a quick release system, so it's quick and easy. You don't even need tools to take it off. Something a lot of people don't know about these V-brakes is they also have a quick release system. That cable unhooks and slots into that little port right there in this hinge. Just like that. So first thing, gonna make sure the tire's pointed the right direction. I'm gonna slide everything back into place like that. Once I have that all set up, if your quick releases come out, you can put it back in. And down here, this is something some people will make a mistake on, and this one's actually important. These are real easy to operate, but if you close them just by spinning them until they lock into place, it's not a question of if they vibrate loose. They will vibrate loose. That wheel will start shaking around and your wheel can fall out of your bike. So, the way to close these is you get it nice and snug with it facing outwards. You see how it says open right there? You take the bit that's open and you hide it, so the bit you see is closed. Well, if it's nice and snug when it's sticking straight out, it should pop nice and tight up there. They see me rolling, they hatin'.
What a nerdy.
So we're working with the front wheel there. I'm going to give you a couple tips for the back wheel because it's a little trickier. First thing, don't turn your bike upside down. That's just a recipe for getting your chain all tangled up in a weird mess, and that's a whole other thing you have to figure out. The brakes unhook, same as before, and if you have disc brakes, try not to squeeze the lever because you don't want to compress those pistons without the rotor in there. This wheel's a quick release, same as before. So it flips open, the wheel drops right out. See how the chain's hanging nicely? We want to do that. That's why we hang the bike up from something. It doesn't have to be a work stand. You can use like a tree branch, a backyard fence, tie it to a rafter in your garage, whatever it's got to be. For reinstalling the wheel, you want the bike in the smallest cog, so your highest gear. So you release it all the way. That just makes it super easy to get the wheel in the right place. All you got to do is line up that chain with the smallest cog, and everything slots exactly where it should be. So were we helpful? Tell me we were helpful.
Hope so.